Hello, welcome to Mix Training. This is Varomix, and today we're gonna see modular multiplication. Alright, so today we're gonna do some math. Awesome. Alright, so I was watching a video from Vsauce, which is, let me show you that video. It's this one, and he was showing there this math thingy here, modular multiplication around a circle. So it does really interesting. Really interesting shapes here, and it's actually really simple stuff to do. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I can do that in Houdini for sure. And I did, and it was pretty surprisingly simple because the math, it's really simple, as he's explaining there right now how the math around this thing works. So basically the math is, you have 1 point here, which is this is 0.0. You have 20 points. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all around, right? And then you have a multiplier, and the multiplier in this case is 2. So basically what it's saying is this point number is basically 0 times 2, it's 0, so it doesn't connect to anything. So this point is number 1, and then number 1 times 2 will connect to number 1, will connect to number 2. And then number 2 will multiply by 2, it will be 4, and it will connect to point number 4, which is 2, 3, 4. And then we will go through each point and do the same thing. Like number 3 times 2 is going to be 6, so 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's just connecting to the multiplying number of this. So it's pretty simple to do. So let's do that first in Python so we can better visualize this, and then we are going to do it in Houdini. Alright, so I have Sublime Text open here, and then we're going to do it first here in Python, and then we're going to see for a better illustration. So let's do points. Points is going to be equal to, let's say 10 for now to start. And then we're going to have another variable, which is going to be the multiplier. It's going to be 2. So what we're doing, it's the number of points around the circle, and the multiplier is going to be our multiplier for the modular multiplication. So in Python, I can just do a for loop and then do it for, let's call it I, or point, ptn for point, or pt just for point. In a range, I'm gonna do just not x range, I'm just gonna do range, and the range is gonna be up to points, which in this case is gonna be 10. And what we're gonna do with that is, let's say for starters, let's just print point. And if we just save this and press Ctrl B in Sublime Text, it tells you if you want to run it as Python. Enter, and then we just do this. So basically we're just printing the point numbers. If you think about in Houdini, I have the example here, but I'm just gonna illustrate it this for you here. If we had 10 points here, so basically we're just printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 around, all around that, right? So let's go back to Sublime. But what we need, as we said, we want the first number, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first one's going to multiply by 2, and it's going to be 0. And the second one's going to multiply by 2, and it's going to be 2. And it's going to connect those two, and so on, so on, so on, right? So that's what we want. So this is basically really simple, because the only thing we need to print after this is a point. Let's print the two lines. We need to print the point times the multiplier, right? That's what we're saying. Multiply the current point by the multiplier. But we also need the actual point. Let's call this is going to be the origin point for our line, because think about we are creating a line here. This is going to be the origin. It's going to be the destination, let's call it, right? Or the start and the end points of the line. So now we print this, we get something like this, right? We get 0 multiplied by 2 is 0, 1 multiplied by 2 is 2, 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. So we're getting exactly what we need with this really simple logic here. We can actually, let's just print all this in one line, just so we get the points in the same line. Let me just add some character here to divide those and not print this line. So let's print this. So there we go. We're gonna be 0. It's gonna connect to 0. So basically, there's no connection there. 1 is gonna connect to 2. 2 is gonna connect to 4. 3 is gonna connect to 6. 4 is gonna connect to 8, and so on, so on. So let's do this in Houdini now. It's gonna be really simple to do. You can see I have the example here, and my example has a little bit of things here, but you can see here's the example with 10 points and the multiplier of 2. If you put 3, it's gonna be that. The more interesting thing is when you have a lot of points and then you get these really cool shapes, like the multiplier 2. This is the cardioid shape. Then you get more interesting shapes. Then 4 more petals there of the cardioid shape. But then you start getting really interesting shapes like 49 multiplier 49. That's pretty interesting. Seems like a sphere actually. 41, it's pretty interesting. 89, it's pretty weird. Like, look at that, it's just a grid. It's pretty cool. 81 is pretty cool. Did I show you that already? I don't know, but it looks pretty nice. And there's a lot of really nice gems here. You can see that even that looks pretty cool. So you can generate a lot of really nice and beautiful effects with this. And since you remember last week I did a tutorial about music driving parameters, you can actually do that. I'm just, after doing that, I'm just adding a carve here, and you can see if I do 2 carves here, I'm carving just some areas there. You can see there, and now you can get more interesting shapes even after creating that. You can see that looks pretty cool if you animate this parameter. Look at that, you can just cut the cardioid shape there. Looks pretty cool. If you mix it with another carve, you can see you can get the edges of that. And I just made a little, the same thing I did with the other tutorial, with the music tutorial I did last week. You go ahead and see that if you haven't. And you can actually, you're not gonna see hear the music, but you can see this is being driven by music now. And we can still change this on the fly. And look at that. Look, it's pretty cool. That's amazing. Cool. All right. So let's see how we can do this thing. All right. I'm going to start with a fresh new file. All right. So let's create a geometry, and let's call this modular. Let's go inside it, kill that guy. Let's create a circle. That's going to be the base of our effect. Let's go to the front view so we don't need to see it in any other view. Let's go there. Let's show the points so we can see the number of points here. Maybe even show the points. We need a polygon circle. And so far we have 12 points there. Let's see, we have 12. Let's put it to 10 to start. That's going to be our starting point. And you can see 0 starts here. So it's all right for now. Let's transform this just by 90 degrees in the z-axis. So now we have 0 up here. So now let's start doing a little bit more of things. Let's put an add node just to get rid of the geometry and leave the points. So just add, delete geometry, but keep the points so we have the points there. Now the winding here in Houdini, it's going in the other direction. If you want to do it this way, doesn't really matter, gives you the same result. If you want to do it the other direction, you can use a sword to change the direction of the points. To here, to reverse point order, you can see, but it moves the 0 over there, which is something that I don't like. But so I'm gonna leave it as that. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's totally works the same way. So now after we have that, we're gonna add a wrangle node, and the magic's gonna happen here in the wrangle node, but it's gonna be super simple. So don't be afraid that this is gonna be like a little bit of Vex here. So it's gonna be really simple, and I'm gonna write this here, but I'm gonna do this in Sublime Text so you can actually see what I'm typing, because otherwise it's gonna be really small. We need to 3 things here. We need to create a primitive, and we need to create 2 points, and we're gonna connect those points with a line. That's going to be all we're going to do inside the wrangle here. So we need to use the add primitive. Add primitive. You can see here's the help. We need a geo handle and a type. So we need to geo handle and a type here. All right. So the geo handle in Vex is basically what geometry you're gonna add this to, and by default in Vex, whatever is you connected in the first one, it's the input 0. That's your geometry, and you can just reference that by just saying 0, like that. If you go to the and the type is gonna be just a selection of types that how this primitive is gonna be drawn. And if we go to the help in Houdini here, so check your Vex functions help. It's very useful in Houdini. You can see the add primitive takes a geo handle, as I say, and then there's a type. And if you scroll down here, the types are here. Types can be poly, which is a closed polygon. It can be a polygon, which is an open polygon. For a tetrahedron, etc. But we are going to use a polyline for this because we just want to draw lines. And this is a string, so let's put that polyline. The other thing we need for this is add some vertices that are the ones that are gonna be added to the line. So let's add a vertex, and you can see that help there. We need a geo handle again, which is gonna be the same geometry. We need a primitive, which is the primitive that we are creating right here. So let's call this int prim, so we can put this into a variable and we can reference it here later. As we're giving it this same name, we're just gonna say prim, and then the point, it's gonna just reference the current point number, ptnum, like that. And ptnum, just say, don't forget to use your semicolons at the end of each lines, or Houdini will give us an error. And ptnum, it just refers to the current number, and since the attribute wrangle just goes through all the points here, you can see it's running over all points. It's gonna run for each point. It's gonna do all these things. So basically, we're saying current point, put it a vertex to that for that, and then we can do the same thing for the other vertex we need. Again, we're gonna do the same handle, the same primitive, and then we're gonna use the ptnum again, but we're gonna multiply it by something. Let's say 2, because let's say if I multiply this 2, we're gonna take the number and multiply it by 2. In this case, we don't have the multiplier yet, but we need to do that. Let's put 2 here for now, and let's copy this into Houdini, and let's see if it's working. And we got something here. All right. This is weird, and it's not kind of working. It doesn't look like it should. And what I figured out here is that when some points, like let's say 5 multiplied by 2 will go up to 0.10, but we don't have 0.10. So what I did for this, it's created another circle on top of this. So let's just copy, let's copy it here. So let's just put a copy and transform, whatever it's, and then we just create 2 copies, and you can see now it looks how it should, which is basically we're just creating 2 circles, one on top of the other, and we have double the points, and that's what we need. And this is the trick here. Your number of copies is going to be equal to your number of multiplier. In this case, we're using 2 here, so we need 2 copies, and then now it works like it should, and this is exactly how it's gonna look. So let's just do this, make this into a really nice asset, so we can really quickly just make an asset with the selection there and call it, I just call it like that, and it's gonna save it there in my home folder. I'm just gonna do that, and I'm gonna add some parameters for this, put an integer, and I'm gonna call this mult, pull the multiplier and apply, and the multiplier by default, let's put it up to 2. And the range, we can put it up to, I don't know, maybe 200, 300. Apply and accept. So now we have an asset here with a multiplier, and now we can get this parameter and pass it to other things, like here, pass it as a relative reference. We can even copy it here as a relative reference. Let's reference, and we are now multiplying by this parameter. We don't need it to be a string here. It's trying to get a string. Just put it ch there, and that should work. You can see it's working right now. So now if we go back up and change the multiplier, now we are cool. Look at that. That looks pretty cool. And then if we go to the circle and give it more points, let's say 200, now this is totally working. And our multiplier here, if we're just gonna do this for one thing, that's a circle, we can just integrate this into the asset as well. Let's say that we want to do this, and maybe even have an input for an optional thing, and then we can add this parameter to the parameters here, type properties, divisions. Let's add it there. Let's call these points and points. All right, so now we have a number of points here in the asset, and we can we don't need to connect this now, but it's kind of requiring that. So let's change that so it doesn't require an input. Minimum input 0. It doesn't require one input. So let's remove that. Now the circle is inside, so we can control it from here. If this is what you want, so you can see this looks pretty cool. Just by having a small amount of points, it looks pretty nice. Look at that. That looks like a perspective grid of some sort. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. The points and the relationship with the multiplier, it's pretty amazing. Now the only thing I did here, apart from that, is just added some color to make it look a little bit more cool. I just put it to bounding box, and there you go. It has some color that looks pretty cool. And there you go. That's it. It was pretty simple to do the actual Vex code there. And now you have a really nice tool that you can animate and stuff. So the only other thing I did here is I created a curve. And the curve, I can delete some parts of this, and you can see now I get more interesting shapes out of this thing. That's pretty amazing. And what if I put a $F here? So I'm gonna change the multiplier as I play. Yeah, Vex is not happy with this. What I did with mine, I created actually an spare parameter here. We can do that here. Let's create a spare parameter. It's gonna be an int, and it's gonna be called mult. And it's going to be equal to channel mult. So when you declare a channel here that doesn't exist, and you click this little button here, it creates the parameter for you. So now we can just copy this parameter from here, reference it here, and then just use this mult over here. So in the expression, so in the Vex code, so it actually first evaluates here whatever time is here, and then it passes it to the code, and now Houdini is happy about that. So we can actually now go ahead and play, and you can see now it's playing and it's doing all those funky little things, and you can see there's a lot of interesting stuff there. You can start seeing really interesting, like this circle. You can see that's a freaking star there. Oh, that looks pretty nice. I saw a star there. You can see there's a star. And without the carve, you don't really see that. But when you carve a little piece of it, you can see some more interesting shapes here. That looks pretty amazing. And then there's some circles. Look at that. That looks pretty fun. Flowers, more flowers. There's some circles. You can see that looks cool. Freaking amazing. And you can cut the cardioid shapes. Let's go to 2. Like that or that, whatever. You can activate the second one and get part of it, and then as I show you in the first one, you can just mix this with the other tutorial about music and control some parameters about this, and do some really funky stuff. Alright guys, if you enjoy these tutorials, please go to mixtrn.com and check out the training we have there. It's pretty amazing. We have a lot of training and more is coming. If you want to support us and get the scene files from this and all the other mix training tips, go to patreon.com/mixtraining and support us there, and you can get the files from there. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Let's keep learning together, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!